What if the entire United States were just in a single village? What would the jobs of the people in that village be? Maybe you want to write a TV show or a movie about American society set in a small town. Or maybe you just want to get a sense of the proportions of people in various roles in your American community. Or maybe you want to get a sense of how realistic it is to target a particular kind of role given how prevalent it is in the economy. Well, if you listen to folks like David Graeber, you'd believe that most of America works as telemarketers or lawyers, and can be hard to get a sense of the broader American community when perhaps you work in an office and mostly see just other office workers. In this video, we're going to look at 20 jobs which proportionally represent the entire U.S. economy according to government data. This is based off the Occupational Employment and Wage Statistics tables for the standard occupation categories. There were 154 million jobs in the most recent U.S. data, so one compressed person in our village represents about 7.5 million real people. 2024 is the most recent data. The data from the previous May is typically released in the following year's April. I'll include a link to the data in the description. This is our representative village. Here in the office tower, we have the business executives. All the office-based business and finance professionals and higher-level executives amount to basically 3 of the 20 jobs, about 15% or 20.5 million jobs as of May 2024. We'll start with the representative boss. Bosses make up about 7.4 million U.S. jobs. These people have subordinates that report to them but are not so-called first-line supervisors of task-performing employees. So a restaurant executive, but not a waitstaff floor manager. While there are a couple scattered jobs in this category that don't fully meet the go to a tall building in a suit image of an executive, by and large they are typical executives. Department heads for sales, marketing, finance, or various parts of operating are in this category. A very tiny part of this category are legislators, so the 32,000 or so elected mayors, city council members, state legislators, governors, and congresspeople are in this category. These are the shot callers of society, and virtually every job has a way to end up here. This category also includes things like school or hospital administrators, so even public sector or nonprofit work provides a path to this job. The boss has a couple executive assistants. The representative implementation executive helps the boss execute decisions that they have made by managing individual projects as a PM or general executive, or keeping track of projects and compliance as an accountant or HR professional. There are 7.5 million people working these jobs. The other representative executive is an analyst or specialist that advises the boss on potential decisions. Included here are most jobs with the title analyst, such as credit, budget, marketing, and management analysts, but also other specialized roles like logisticians or cost estimators. About 6.4 million people work in these jobs. These 3 representative executive jobs create a kind of trinity of recommend possible decisions, make decisions, and make sure past decisions were followed. Working closely with the executives are 2 representative pink-collar administrative roles, which I divide into a business-facing secretary and a customer-facing records and customer service clerk. The customer service clerk includes things like bank tellers and hotel front desk clerks. These are the people you talk to when you call into a business like the cable company, the people that can pull up your personal billing history or your address's service history or other personal customer information. Though administrative, this seems like the kind of tedious and necessary paper pushing that no one would accuse of being bloat. As I split them, there are a few more jobs categorized as customer service clerks, but these are sometimes difficult to clearly categorize, as is the case with the other office and administrative workers category. Regardless, about 18 million jobs are in these various kinds of necessary paper pushers, which make up about 2 of our 20 representatives. One representative is a salesperson for things like cars, real estate, B2B transactions, and things like carpet installation or pest control service. While only 80,000 are categorized as telemarketers, many of these salespeople likely cold call to sell things like awnings or gym memberships. B2B sales do not call consumers. This job is what Jim from the office was supposedly doing, selling printer paper to businesses. These sales jobs are probably ones people would see as bloat in terms of David Graeber's bullshit jobs, so I wanted to break them out separately, but this is the smallest representative as there are only 4.6 million of these jobs. From the most BS job, let's go on to the least. About 8.7 million Americans are still production workers, making one of the largest representatives in our factory worker. All sorts of assemblers, welders, cutters, CNC operators, mold injectors, furniture makers, etc. are in this job. But there are also some things you may not expect, like bakers and butchers or dental implant sculptors. These are the only jobs that directly produce objects that you can hold in your hand. The construction worker represents the 9.1 million jobs in all areas of construction which build things that you can't hold in your hand or put on a truck. While general laborer is the largest subcategory of construction worker, there are dozens of specialties from pouring concrete to roofing to painters. BLS also includes 210,000 miners here, to which I add the 350,000 agricultural workers and 35,000 lumber harvesters, as these smaller natural resource jobs don't fit well elsewhere. I also include the heavy equipment pilots, which are mostly employed on construction sites in the representative construction worker. But the rest of vehicle pilots are represented by the driver. These 5.2 million jobs drive, steer, or pilot a passenger or cargo vehicle, or are a miscellaneous job associated with transportation. Many of these jobs are passenger drivers for gig apps or are cargo truck drivers that pilot semis. But there are also 93,000 airplane pilots and 34,000 boat captains. Also in this category are miscellaneous air or sea transport jobs like air traffic control or ship engineers. The driver many times will be moving cargo either to or from our representative warehouse worker. These 6.8 million jobs do much of the tedious handling of goods to directly place them onto storage shelves or into individual shipping packages. Work which must be done mostly by hand at a small scale. These are the Amazon pickers. And probably the most directly impactful manual labor job would be our representative mechanic. These 6 million jobs install, maintain, and repair all of the large, complicated equipment that make the other manual labor jobs possible. Our representative mechanic works on the factory workers' machines, the construction workers' heavy equipment, the drivers' vehicles, and the warehousers' forklift. He also installed the HVAC and internet connection that keep the office workers in school going, and stuff like the oxygen tubing in the hospital. Perhaps most importantly, he maintains society's communication and electrical infrastructure while working on things like cell towers or power lines. Outside the industrial sector, there are some unambiguously important jobs in social service. Our representative teacher stands in for the 8.7 million preschool, K-12, and non-research post-secondary teachers and professors. Out of the 8.7 million educator jobs, BLS also categorizes 240,000 librarians and museum employees here, which I think you'll agree is appropriate. The representative medical professional symbolizes 9.6 million medical professionals, but only a small fraction are what you may consider a quote-unquote doctor. Of the 9.6 million, only about 700,000 are physicians, and there are an additional 50,000 surgeons. The rest are in medical jobs like dentist, optometrist, pharmacist, vet, medical technicians such as heart and lung machine operators or MRI specialists, or many kinds of therapists, including speech, physio, exercise, occupational, etc. The largest subcategory here are registered nurses at about 3.2 million, but lower levels of nursing aides are in the next category. Medical assistants. This category includes many of the peripheral personnel around medical professionals. We've already mentioned nursing aides, but this category also includes jobs like pharmacy techs, dental assistants, or phlebotomists. Basically, all of the various flavors of medical professionals have aides, assistants, or orderlies in this category. A large and rapidly growing part of this category are in-home aides for the elderly and disabled, making up 4 million of the 7.4 million jobs here. The final public service job incorporates all the professionals that deal with social deviancy, preventing it, and its effects. This representative job includes all police and security guards, but also social workers, counselors, and clergy. All lawyers, judges, and court officials are here, making up only 800,000 of the 7.4 million jobs in this category. I also want to mention here the 1.4 million active duty military personnel which are not otherwise captured in OEWS data. It's debatable where to include these jobs, as combat readiness is a very unique occupation and incorporates many different kinds of work which could be categorized in a number of our representatives. For example, the tens of thousands of military medics and medical technicians would probably most appropriately be categorized under the medical professional. Many officers perform functions similar to the analyst, implementation executive, or boss, or the many Navy and Air Force personnel involved in vehicle piloting or peripheral transportation jobs. That said, precise numbers of personnel in these roles are not published for security reasons. We can't be certain, so for our purposes, you may want to bulk these jobs in with police and security jobs on one hand, or perhaps you'd prefer to just imagine all jobs have about 1% more people doing them in some military capacity. Back in our representative office building on the ground floor are our representative shop and restaurant. Our representative retail clerk runs the shop and represents 8.7 million retail workers in the U.S. Our restaurant's waiter represents the 8 million food servers, including 3.8 million fast food counter workers. The 670,000 fast food cooks are represented in our restaurant's cook, along with the 5 million other food and drink preparation workers, a total of about 5.6 million cooks, bartenders, and food preparers. There aren't enough of what most people would consider the most desirable jobs to form an entire representative person, so I've included them along with the cleaning jobs to represent their having a part-time additional gig. This representative is perhaps an aspiring artist that can't quite make a full living off of artistry. They perform miscellaneous service jobs, which include things like being a yoga instructor or makeup artist, but also things very directly related to entertainment, like running theaters or theme parks. Of the 8.3 million jobs here, about 10,000 are fine artists of all types, including painters, sculptors, or illustrators, about 60,000 actors, 15,000 dancers and choreographers, 35,000 musicians and singers, 50,000 writers, and 75,000 news professionals, journalists, anchors, or radio DJs. Many of the artistic and design jobs are just design jobs like merchandise display designers or interior designers. The 240,000 coaching jobs are much more common than the 15,000 professional athlete jobs in this category. The 275,000 PR professionals also drastically outnumber the journalists. But some people may think the most desirable jobs are the ones that let you use your mind. The final representative job is what I call the smart guy. This technically would be where David Graeber and other research scientists would have been categorized. But the 900,000 academic researchers aren't enough to make up an entire representative person. This category also includes information technology workers like software engineers and other engineers and architects, as well as specialized technicians that work in these fields like the staff of particle accelerator facilities or NASA. In total, there are 9.2 million of these jobs. To talk about the non-working people a bit, I could add one unemployed person seeking work, one housewife, one disabled person, an older college student, and one institutionalized person that represents a combination of people who are in long-term care facilities, hospitals, or prisons. These 5 non-workers are working age, but there are also 9 elderly people and 12 kids in various stages of education. So while some politicians like to make a point about the fact that most Americans are non-working freeloaders, know that almost all of these quote-unquote freeloaders are people who are elderly and had a long career already, or are children who have yet to enter the workforce. And that is a pretty solid representation of who Americans are, at least as defined by their occupations. I hope I've given you a handy way to get an understanding of what American society looks like, which is much easier when shrunk to this small village. Like seeing the layout of a city in a toy model, you can orient yourself and get a sense of proportion with our toy model of the economy. This is part of a 2-video series. In this first video, we discussed 20 representative jobs that describe our economy. And in the next video, I want to more directly address the question of what constitutes a bullshit job and where they are in the economy. So be sure to subscribe to get YouTube to serve you that one. Also, leave a comment if you'd like to see a third video on how exactly the economy is changing in the past year, and which job categories are expanding or contracting rapidly with the advent of AI systems. This has been Shiva's Right Foot, and I'll talk to you next time. which should be pretty soon since I'm uploading the second video at the same time as this video, so check it out.